Hello everyone! So welcome back to another video. So, Season 1, Episode 1 of Symphogear. Starting this up because I said I was really interested in introducing more people to the show because it's really good. So, out of all the animes that I've watched, I can only remember a handful that have a cold opening or a very somber opening. And this is one of them. Symphogear, the beginning of it, takes place 2 years after the start of the storyline in Season 1. And it requires us to go back to the very beginning of things and see exactly what happened. Because the way this starts off is by one of the main cast, Miku, going to visit her friend Hibiki in a cemetery and lamenting about how she can't see her anymore and how she enjoyed her singing. So we go back and see what actually happened to get us to this point in the story where Miku's wondering where Hibiki went or how she ended up dying. And what we see at the beginning here is that Hibiki plans to go to a concert for one of the newest groups that she likes, Surviving, and they're going to be playing locally at this huge concert hall. And yeah, Miku and Hibiki are meant to be going together, but something happens to Miku's grandmother. She has an accident, and as a result she can't make it. So Hibiki goes by herself with the tickets that she's got and decides to enjoy. And as we get to the concert, we get to see her really excited. She's lined up, ready to go. She's purchasing glow sticks and all this merch that you would see for a usual concert. And meanwhile, we have Zweiwing, consisting of two members, Tsubasa and Kanade. And they are there as an idol group, but also they have another motive, which is working with two other characters, Ryoko and Genjiro. Genjiro looks like a lion in this. And Ryoko is more like a scientist type. And the idea is that they have a relic, an ancient sort of relic or device underground. And this is set up underneath the concert hall, and they're going to use what they call phonic gain, the power of song, to activate this relic. And the idea is that by doing this, that somehow it will give humanity a little bit of hope for the future. And of course, Tsubasa's nervous about what could happen during the concert or what might happen with the relic, and Kanade is acting more like a big sister role to her and saying, oh, it doesn't matter, stop being such a downer, you know, because I really want to enjoy myself. We've got a lot of people that are lined up here to watch us sing, so let's just go out there and have a laugh. And of course, this comforts Tsubasa, and she's able to actually go out there on stage and sing. And what we get here really early on in the first episode is something that gets repeated later on in the show, where there are multiple concerts that are just really grand, normally at the beginning of each season, just to set up everything. And Zweiwing's one is brilliant because both of them come out onto stage flying down from the rafters with these wings attached to these dresses. And as soon as they hit the stage, the lights come on, they start singing a little bit. You get to see these really cool 3D panoramic shots panning around the crowd that have all got these glow sticks. We get to see Hibiki in the crowd just cheering away and chanting after breaking this glow stick and really enjoying herself. As this happens, as the songs pick up, we get to see the entire stage itself has like a dome on top of it, and the dome splits apart into these almost like wing looking things that separate and open up, so the entire thing is now an open air stadium. And all the roof has these lights on to illuminate everything. We've got this crazy light show going on while this is all happening. And downstairs, the phonic gain, or the power of song, is busy helping raise the energy levels that they need to activate this relic, this weird device. The problem is that while everything's going great, and at least it seems like it's going to plan, what ends up happening is the safety device that's keeping the relic from overloading ends up failing, and of course this causes an explosion which more or less kills all of the science team. And just as this happens, we also get an attack from the series main antagonists, the Noise. The Noise are these weird beings that are made out of what seems like pure energy or something. but they come in all shapes and sizes. They're really weird, almost like faceless monsters. Some look like giant slugs. Some look like weird guys with stretchy limbs. They all have weird features to them, and they all glow. And the unique way that they go about killing people in the crowd when they attack is the moment noise touches you, your body starts turning to ash immediately, and it'll get to a point where all of your limbs and everything else will go black and then just completely disintegrate. And this starts happening en masse. So there are a lot of people in the stadium at the time. I think if I remember rightly, it mentions later on somewhere between like 14,000 and 20,000 people, and there are a lot of casualties. So everybody is just getting absolutely massacred by the noise attack, and this is where we get to see another side of Zweiwing. We get to see Kanade rushes off the stage and does this chant in midair, which transforms her into her Symphogear. It's this magical mechanical battle armor that's put on with a musical chant, very similar to how the relic is powered by phonic gain or the power of song. The armor is powered by constant singing as well. And from what I've heard about the show anyway, this wasn't actually meant to be. The idea was that the show was going to have the singing be like a backing track to your usual anime, but instead they sort of decided to incorporate that into the show. So you have these singing idols that are now going into battle like Valkyries and tearing up noise. The idea with the Symphogear is that the gear itself allows the user to be in the same sort of dimension of sorts, or on the same wavelength as the noise, because they can't be attacked by conventional weapons. So by being on the same wavelength as them, you can then damage them with different weapons. So Kanade has Gungnir, it's this giant spear, and Tsubasa transforms as well and has this katana called Ame no Habekiri. And together they start slicing up all these noise. The problem is that there are so many of them that keep coming that it's becoming increasingly hard to save people, to the point where Hibiki in the crowd is just looking on thinking, what is going on here? And as she's staring into the abyss, part of the stadium falls away underneath her, causing her to break her ankle. And Kanade notices this and jumps in front of some noise attacks to protect Hibiki and ends up taking damage. And the result is that part of her Symphogear chips off and ends up flying at Hibiki and embedding itself in her chest, completely knocking her off her feet and putting this huge hole in the top of her chest that sends blood everywhere. And of course, Kanade doesn't take this lightly, because she's essentially caused someone to suffer massive injuries. So with everything looking bleak, and with both her and Tsubasa looking like they're gonna get surrounded and taken out, she decides to resort to her swan song, or her superb song, which is a last-ditch effort that we get introduced to here, where the user essentially sings a special song, and it turns all of the Symphogear's energy into this one huge, almost like nuclear blast that destroys everything in the surroundings, but it's at the expense of the user's life force. And as a result, Hibiki blacks out while watching Kanade die, as she's singing this, her final song, while also telling Hibiki not to give up on life. And as Hibiki's struggling to keep her eyes open as she's blacking out, what we see is everything just gets completely annihilated by Kanade's swan song. And of course, Tsubasa, with her being the sort of little sister in her and Kanade's relationship, we get to see her screaming out for her best friend as this happens, to the point where she runs over to try and cradle her afterwards. And at this point, Kanade's bleeding from her mouth, from her ears, everywhere. And what ends up happening is she says her goodbyes quickly, and then her body just completely disintegrates and turns into ash herself, leaving Tsubasa in tears. And it's only a little bit after this that we wake up with Hibiki in the hospital. We get to see that she's healed from her wound, but she's got this crazy scar going on in her chest. And then she blacks out again. And next thing we see, there's a little bit more time has passed. And Hibiki's entered Lydian, this school that Tsubasa's in as well, for girls. And the idea is that Hibiki is, after the event, followed Tsubasa because she admires her and tries to get close to her to figure out what actually happened at the concert, because she can't quite remember, and also to figure out the mystery of the Symphogears, because she's definitely sure that something happened, and she's sure it was Viewing that saved her with some weird mechanical armour, but she's not entirely sure. She thinks she might have saw things, especially because her memory is very hazy. So Hibiki lives in the dormitories with Miku together in one dormitory, and they spend a lot of time going in and out of each class and having fun together. And Hibiki's this ditzy head that likes to help people now because she's inspired by Kanade, especially by Kanade's song that she sung while she was in battle, which is called Kimi no to Luto Oto Kanade Suruki Made, or the sound called You plays until it burns out, which is very fitting of a character, always pushing herself to her limits and never giving up on hope until the very last note of the song. Well, inspired by this, Hibiki decides that she's going to try her hardest as possible and never really give up. So she's trying her hardest at school and ends up bumping into Tsubasa in the cafeteria. And the problem is, when she goes to talk to her, she's still got food on her face, which Tsubasa points out, and Hibiki, of course, wanting to keep up her appearance and not look like a complete freak when she's meeting people, freaks out because she doesn't know what to say. And next thing we see, she's completely failed at even talking to Tsubasa and has instead kind of run off in fear of messing up the introduction. And she's talking to Miku about it and saying, "Oh God, I've messed up everything." And Miku casually mentions to Hibiki that Tsubasa's new CD that she's made as a solo artist now is just coming out today, and that she might not want to miss out on its release as it's got special material on the CD. Well, of course, Hibiki, not remembering this because of everything else that's happened on during the day, like with schoolwork and stuff, she's completely forgot about the release of this CD, and she's really enamored by Tsubasa, so she has to get it. So of course she takes the train into town to the CD store, the music store, to try and get this thing. And as she's on her way there, everything is strangely silent, and what we see is that everybody in the surrounding area has been turned to ash. Now, the night before, we see this event take place where the noise come closer to Lydian. Before, they were at the stadium, which is pretty close in the city that they're in. They never actually mention the city's name, I don't think, but all we know is it's somewhere in Japan. But in terms of the stadium is right near the ocean, where the city itself is on the edge, in like right close to the ocean. The actual stadium of the concert hall was basically perched almost like a dock on the very edge of the water. And what we get to see is that the school, Lydian, is a little bit further inland, but the noise have been slowly approaching the city over the course of, I'm going to say, maybe like a month or so. And the night before Hibiki goes out to get this music CD, we get to see Section 1, or the standard military, trying to deal with noise that are encroaching in the area, or coming into the area, and the weapons have no effect. And what we see is Tsubasa comes in to help them out, and of course Tsubasa has completely changed her character at this point, from being sort of this younger sister who's a little bit more tame and worried about certain things and who needs that support to carry her. she's instead become a completely different person and is really, really focused on just destroying all the noise. She massacres everything really easy while singing this song, which is Zeto Ame no Habikiri, or basically Ame no Habikiri, the ultimate blade. And the lyrics go over the details about how she's changed as a character, how Kanade's death affected her so badly that she seeped into this really, really, really huge pit of depression that she seemingly can't get out of. And as a result, she takes it out on all the noise by not really working with anybody else and just wants to massacre every single one of them. So she's incredibly focused on a single goal almost all the time, and when she's not focused on killing them, she's focused on thinking about it and how the loss of Kanade just can't get out of her head. And it's incredibly sad to see that her character has now just devolved into that because she can't get over the loss of her friend. And after defeating all these noise, you'd think, okay, that's fine, that's the end of it. You know, they're not going to come any further inland, but of course, Hibiki gets ambushed by them in the city as she goes to get this CD and ends up having to run away from them because there's a huge group chasing her. She ends up running into a little girl in one of these alleyways as she's trying to avoid them, and grabs the little girl by the arm and runs for it. And at this point, she's being chased by hundreds of noise. She runs for what seems like the entire afternoon trying to get away from them. She dives into a stream at one point to try and get away from them. It looks like she's shaken them just as the sun's setting. She ends up climbing in onto one of the rooftops in the industrial area, surrounded by all these things like gas cylinders and stuff. And just when she thinks they're safe, the noise appear again, and she gets completely surrounded. And just when they think they can't do anything and this is going to be it, somehow Hibiki chants one of the Symphogear chants. She doesn't even know what she's doing. It's almost like she's on autopilot after shouting, "I just don't want to give up." And then all of a sudden this huge energy burst comes out of her that lights up the entire night sky, and the Symphogear armor suddenly dons and gets attached to her. We see all these mechanical plates fitting onto her in different ways, and at the end we get to see Hibiki almost in sort of like a rage mode with the armor fully put on her. It's a really cool introduction episode. I really like the way that it's set up, especially the concert. It feels really, really grand. Playing Gakyo no Fugal, I think it is, and Orbital Beat. All these songs I'm going to leave links to in the description because they're really good to listen to. And honestly, if it wasn't for YouTube's copyright system, I'd be putting all this on in the background just to show you because I could gush about it for ages. Despite its age, it is a really good anime. I love the characterization and how everything builds up. And it's only going to get better from here on in. So if you've not checked it out, start checking it out. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a like and a thumbs up, because it really helps me out. I'll see you on the next one. So until then, bye!